Bates Motel Season 5, Episode 6, Marion. Now, of course, with this episode, I have to start the review by talking about the end of the episode because it was a pretty crazy ending. We go full psycho. They get the iconic ending under, different context, of course, but we get the iconic shower scene from the film, and it kind of threw me off. Like, it threw off everything that I was just assuming I knew about this whole season, because I always thought this final season is going to lead into the film. It would just be a modern version, but it would lead into Psycho. And then with them having this iconic sequence, which could just be a reference because of course it's the show about a really famous movie, it could just be that cool reference. But then it also made me think, what if this does end and it doesn't lead into the film? What if this does end as its own story? It's a great way to tell. I mean, obviously it is a reimagining to begin with because it's set in modern day compared to, the old film. So once this scene actually popped up at the end, I was like, oh crap, I thought I knew everything that was going to happen, because it's like, okay, Norman is constantly going through this back and forth. He seems to be getting better. And then I don't even know where the F he is now, because I was like, okay, so he got better a little, and he's like, I'm not going to talk to you, Mom, because you're dead, but I'm talking to you to let you know I'm not going to talk to you. And then the kitchen scene where he's arguing and he's knocking stuff down, and it was just insane. And then we get the reveal at the end that this version of Norman that we've been seeing is like all the dark thoughts and processes that Norman has had as a child that he wasn't really ready to hold on to until now, because he's an adult crazy person now. So really crazy ending to this episode where he ends up killing Sam, or Davidson. I still like calling him that because it's just funny to me. But he ends up killing Sam with, the iconic shower scene. He stabs the crap out of him, stabs him in the back, and he's dead now. And Marion ends up living. So Rihanna had her cool cameo. She came in, she was cool, and was like, I'm going to be the one person to survive in the entire series. I mean, we literally had characters leave the show and come back like a season later and die. Stuff like that. Crazy stuff. And she came in, she was close to Norman. He helped her out. He was sad when she was trying to figure out who Sam really was and everything. And he's like, I could give you the address. And he was acting like it was no big deal. It's like, I could give you the address. I know his wife. No big deal. And it's just like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. Like, I give you a zip code and everything. I'm super sorry. Here's a picture. That little fire is his pants. And it's like, he's not, he knew what he was doing, of course. And it was interesting. I was like, okay, I knew that scene was coming. Of course, that was in the promo, where she's like, busting the windows and everything. And I was like, okay, he's going to go back to the motel. And I thought, and I said this even in my last review, I assumed that they were going to fight. I was like, he's going to get mad at Norman, some things are going to play out, and Norman's going to destroy him because he's going to snap and, just be crazy and kill the guy. And that didn't end up happening. He was just super cool about it. He was like, oh, Norman has nothing to do with this. I'm just going to go try to meet her. I've been, kind of locked out of the house. I'm sure, now that I think about it, because he had, like, all the windows in his car busted out, unless he took, his soon-to-be ex-wife's car, he should have been, like, dripping wet, because it was, like, raining like crazy. And that just randomly occurred to me, because, like, he had, like, no windows. But, he's like, oh, man, I got some wine on me. Let me take a shower. I'll wait for her. And, she's gone. And Norman says, like, get rid of everything they can use to track you, toss your phone and stuff. So he's just in the shower. And that's when we have Norman talking to this dark version of Norman, where it's like, you created me to kind of help you. Like, all of that crazy stuff are kind of like the repressed memories. And he just went to like a whole new level of like sheer insanity in this one, and it was fun to watch. Like, I don't know how to really quantify his insanity or in any way, shape, or form, but it was super fun to watch in this episode. Like, the kitchen scene was great, and I actually saw some stuff about that on Twitter. Like, I screwed myself up. I was like, I just couldn't help myself this week, so I had to work, so I didn't get to see this episode. It's like 4 in the morning. I think it's 3:50 or something like that. Yeah, it's 3:52 in the morning right now. So I obviously didn't get to see the episode until really, really late. So I got off work, and it didn't record today because I'm in a different house with my girlfriend, so I never set it to record over here. I always would forget. So I was like, well, crap. It was on demand, so I was waiting for it to load up. So I was like, I'll just watch another show. and it's trending on Twitter. I think it trends every single week it's on. And I was like, maybe I'll take like a quick peek. And so this was already like 2 or 3 hours after the show had already been off. It was like midnight. So it was already like 2.5 hours after. And I went on there, I saw like a quick glimpse of people talking about the kitchen sequence and trying to explain how, he's like knocking stuff over and things like that, but, he's seeing his mother do it, but it's actually him. And so I read like a little bit of that and I was like, all right, that's it. And I went off of it. And then like, I think it was 2 hours later, it took me forever to finally actually end up watching the show. And so I went back on there and there was like some extra stuff, and that's how I ended up knowing that Sam was going to die at the end. So I knew it was going to happen. I spoiled it for myself like 10 minutes before I got to it. But it still was really crazy to see. I was like, even knowing that, and it still shocked me, of course, when I read that, I was like, holy crap. Like, I can't believe that actually ends up happening. Like, how does that even make sense? Like, how does that work? And then it got pretty simple. It's like, oh, she lived. That's how that works, because somebody's got to die today. So, of course, we have our character who actually ends up living, and then, David Davidson strolls on in, and he's like, I'm going to make this right. I really would have loved to have seen, just in some crazy hypothetical situation, what could have possibly happened there, even if she, did end up coming back or anything. Like, what did he think was going to take place? Like, I was married, and then I started dating you, so I was cheating on my wife, and then I never told you, so I was cheating on both of you at the same time. Like, it was crazy. He was almost as crazy as Norman. Like, he just thought that was going to play out. Like, I'll wait for you. I know I totally cheated on you forever, and technically I cheated with you first. And he just thought, like, no biggie. We can talk this out. That'll work. So, I don't know. He's crazy too, but he's dead now, so it doesn't matter. But crazy ending. Definitely a crazy way to end it, where, they also play the song. I was trying to remember, and I think it was in the season finale last season when Norma died. I just couldn't remember. I know it came up recently, but the song that was playing, I was like, I know that song just played in an episode recently, so it may have actually been this season, but I'm like, that song just played when something else really crazy happened. So I was like, that was really cool that they did that. And then a really great moment was the line where he says, what have I done? So he recognized the fact that it was him, so he's kind of still in the moment, and it was just good. I was like, I like that. It's a new advancement, and we're going to get to see how that plays out, where he realizes the woman next to him is not his mother. She's not there because his mother is dead in the basement, but he still works with this other side of him as the personification of his mother. So it's just like a weird level of clarity and insanity really bundled up into just one entertaining person to watch. So I can't wait to see where that goes. But like I said, I had to talk about the ending first. And like I said, with the way they did that, it seems like they are leading into a reimagining of the film, adding in newer characters. Like, we have actual family to Norman with his brother Dylan coming into play in the next episode. Really excited for that. We still have Romero, who we don't get to see, still kind of just making his way to the motel. But they are doing some stuff like the film. We have a character that was killed in the shower, and then we have someone related to them. It's in a different aspect as far as the show, because it's his wife. And in the film, it was the character's sister, if I remember correctly. I still haven't actually seen the film. That's like all I knew. And I found that out like last year, that the character died and then her sister came in. I was like, I knew the main character died. I didn't know her sister came in. I was like, I don't know what happens after that. I just found that out last year. So they have that coming, that element coming into play where it's someone looking for the person that died. So I'm like, this could really follow the story, as a reimagining of the film for these last couple of episodes. Because if I remember right, there are still only 10 episodes, or like 12 for this season. They never do like really long seasons, which is the only unfortunate thing about the series. It's such short seasons every single season. It's still only gonna end up being like 50 something episodes, which is insane for a show that's been on for so long. And they're like, yeah, we'll just do a solid 10, we're good. And they're always great seasons, so it makes sense they do those tight-knit stories, and they always work great. But there ain't that much left, and we're going possibly into like a reimagining of the actual film storyline a little bit. So I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, Dylan and Norman actually have their conversation in this episode about Norma, because Dylan finds out what happened. This was also where I found out that this was 2 years after the last season, which I mentioned in the first episode. I was like, okay, so it's been at least like a year or something like that, I would imagine. And then they're like, no, it was like 2 years ago. I was like, okay, they didn't specify that unless I missed it. They certainly didn't specify that in any of the other episodes, that it's been 2 years since that last season. And that was something I thought of before, because I was like, I could have sworn with Romero they mentioned a certain amount of time, and I was like, I thought he'd be in there for like years or something. And they mentioned like a weird time, like it was like a weird time difference, but I forgot to think about that because it was like early on in the episode when they showed him. But yeah, that kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh, it's been 2 full years, so that's an even bigger difference than I was thinking. Where it's like, okay, they probably a year, because of course they had the kid. That's 9 months. I would assume there was a little bit of just them getting jobs and things like that. They had a house and all that stuff, so I'm like, I feel like there's a little bit of extra time you could just throw in there that makes a lot of sense. So I was kind of shocked personally when they were like, yeah, it was like 2 years ago. I was like, oh, they did skip a big chunk of time. So we got them having their conversation, and now Dylan is going to head back to town, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. Like I said, we don't have too much left for this season, but this was a really good episode. And of course the sheriff is, strolling around. They finally, I don't know who did it, but somebody was like, man, check this out. There's like 8 dozen dead bodies in all the different waters. So they found the bodies in the water. Who knows which body, because there's like a multitude of bodies. They could have even found the dude that Romero killed. I doubt they'll do that. But he killed a guy out in the water, which that's still one of my favorite sequences, just because I thought it was very interesting how that death played out, where he killed that guy and sunk a boat. But that guy's dead out in the water. They have Caleb, who, his body being burned. I'm sure he did, it's not like an incinerator. I'm sure he didn't actually burn to ashes. So his remains are just in some new lake that they just showed in this season. We have, I can't even remember the girl's name, but the girl that got killed in the end of the last season. So her body's in a different lake somewhere, I believe, in the car. And then we have, of course, the crazy cop dude who like kidnapped the girl in like the very first season, who ended up being insane. And his body is somewhere, and also the former neighbor from the very first episode, his body's in that same river. So there's a lot of bodies in a lot of different waters that they can pick from. So I'm curious how that's going to play out. And if it is the former neighbor or the former, he wasn't the sheriff, but he was like, second in command. If it's either of them, I think that will easily tie back to Norman, because it's like, oh, this guy had a relationship with your mother for a bit, and also he kind of went crazy and, tried to kill your mom. I'm pretty sure that was in the news and Romero covered that up, but some of that stuff got out there. And then, of course, the neighbor is like, oh, he was the only person mad about it. I don't know if anyone would care to remember that, because that, of course, was years ago, the first season. So they got a lot of bodies to choose from for this next episode, and I'm really curious how that's going to end up playing out. But this was a really good one, and seeing the escalation of Norman's like insanity from a level where he just didn't understand, and he thought she was alive, and then he started to realize in the last episode that that wasn't the case. And in this episode, he talks to her and is like, big deal, I went out and I got screwed and stuff like that. And that's when he starts to understand that his mother is gone. He starts to get it. And then he argues with himself and he's like, okay, you must be real. And then that's when he realizes that she's not real and that it's the darker part of himself. And now he's almost just one crazy person. Still a little bit two different entities, one being Norman, the other being Norma. But I'm really excited for where they're headed with that and just that dynamic, because it's going to be different now. So I'm really looking forward to that. But crazy episode. David Davidson is gone. We'll see what in the world they do with the rest of the characters that are even alive, because I'm still not 100% sure any of them are safe, just because Norman is insane. I feel like Dylan might be a little bit safer, maybe Chick, just because he's friendly, and then you have 2 other characters where, both of them might get a little too close to specific answers, and Norman might feel like he has to deal with them. So half the characters, I think they're okay because they're kind of on Norman's good side. Dylan, maybe not so much, because of course he's gonna, sometimes he can be too smart for his own good, and he knows that his mother wouldn't have done that. And I just don't know what that means for him. So we'll see how that plays out. But this was definitely a great episode. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, I want to know how you guys felt about the end of this episode. We had A character I thought for sure was gonna die. She was alone with Norman for so long, and she made it. And then I mean, honestly, I don't think there's ever been a time outside of well, actually, dang, both guys who died in the first season really deserved it, if I'm being totally honest. But since then, there really hasn't been a character that deserved to die more than Sam. Not as bad as the first two guys, for sure. He was cheating, but they definitely did some worse stuff. But it's like, yeah, okay, he sucks. Maybe not just like completely murdered or anything. Maybe just don't be happy, but not like surprised you're murdered in the crappy motel bathroom. But still, I was like, okay, yeah, not since the days of old has someone died who actually kind of deserved it. Everyone else has just been like, Norman went crazy. There goes that teacher. There goes his former classmate. Just dead people all around who didn't really deserve it. Dylan had a couple of experiences where he killed some people that deserved it, or random people died because he's dealing with an insane person in the drug world, so that tends to happen. But yeah, it's been a while since I felt like it was actually a deserved death where the person was just a bad person. And Norman, of course, still absolutely insane because no one would have like murdered that dude, but great ending. Really great ending, of course. Like I said, we'll love to know what you guys thought about it. And I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.